Hello, welcome. I'm Hannah, and today we're going to be ice swatching the 9 newest Clionadh shadows that they just launched like a couple weeks ago. This was an interesting collection because Clionadh doesn't release that much, and these they had gifted during like a creators and friends trip a couple months ago, but it didn't feel like any of those creators were really talking about them, and it was kind of like a while before they actually launched them. And then when I was deciding what I wanted to buy from the launch or if I wanted to buy any, I couldn't find that much content, so I was like, I'm just gonna get them all and then I'll be able to ice swatch them for you. Quick side note, this is going up later than I wanted it to with this. I actually paid for expedited shipping so I'd be able to like get this up soon after the launch, but I got a new job. I just started recently, so I'm a little backed up now, but it's going great and we are getting this done today. So I'm extra excited because these have been like sitting in their packaging up until today. The fun thing about this collection too is it's a range of different formulas. So I'm excited for that, but I'm not going to organize these ice swatches by formula or anything. Honestly, I'm just doing this kind of like off the cuff, and I'm just gonna throw similar shades on my eyes at the same time. So let's start with two that look like they're a little bit on the warmer side. This one looks really exciting and beautiful. You may know I love an interesting neutral, and I feel like there are several of them in this collection. This one's called Exothermic, and it's a dimensional light multichrome. I'm not sure if I've ever actually tried anything from that line. Really soft shade, not like squishy or anything, but like, but soft, decently soft. I don't have any eye primer on. Oh, that looks so pretty. Yeah, Clionadh, even within sometimes their lines, I feel like they've been a little bit better about this now, but in the past, sometimes you would just get like a less sparkly shade, a more like almost satiny looking shade. So I was excited to see how many of these would look like genuinely sparkly. This one is super sparkly, and also I feel like this has multicolored sparkle in it, which is a thing that I love. I feel like a lot of brands have been doing that recently, and I don't know if Clionadh's really hopped on the train yet. I can't think of any shadows that they have that really have that like all over the place multicolored sparkle, but this one, like, especially looking right here, it looks like red sparkle and maybe some type of like minty sparkle, and then the shade itself looks like it has like an orange or a copper flip to it, but it looks more cool toned in the direct light. I really like the shadow. This looks like a penny on vacation. This looks like a penny with its makeup done. Okay, the next shade is Archway, and this one is an Earth Vibrant Multichrome. I think I've had good luck with Earth Vibrance. Oh no, I'm thinking about Electric. The electric ones are my favorite. But I do like the Earth Vibrance also. This one's also like a fairly new extension. Okay, this shade is definitely harder pressed than the last one. So they're doing this like imprint in it now, and the last one I could feel the imprint like going away, you know, when I put my finger in it. And this is like a little bit more of like a wet rock thing going on. Like you're not really feeling it come up when you put your finger in it. So I think this one's going to look very different from the other one in my eye, but pretty. Yeah, a much different type of sparkle. It's not that this one's not sparkly, but this one has that like PC, like almost glitter specks looking. I know Clionadh doesn't use like actual plastic glitter, but it looks like specks of sparkles. And this one, the shine's like a little bit more intertwined in the formula. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it doesn't look like glitter sitting on top of it the way this one does. This one feels a little bit more mellow, but the shift to it is really pretty. I'd say it's like a bronze in the light and like an eggplant purple in the base. There was a recent Lucy shade with like a similar combination of colors. I don't think it actually looked exactly like this, but it had the like oranginess and the purpleness, and I said there that it reminded me of like peanut butter and jelly, and I definitely see that with this shade too. Yeah, it's pretty, but I like having the comparison that you could see that it's like a way different type of sparkle. Both of these look pretty sparkly when I look at them in different lighting. Exothermic seems to have a yellow shift to it, which feels very cool and unusual. I feel like you don't usually see a yellow shift. And Archway, I'm seeing a little bit of green to it. Okay, the next two look a little bit more like dingy colors. This one is called Electron, and I'm so excited seeing this in the pan. It looks dingy, but also like electric at the same time. I can see why they called it Electron. Like the green in it looks so bright, but it also has like so much like chrome on top of it. This one's also a dimensional light multichrome, which the first one we swatched was. So I'm hoping this is gonna have like a really high impact finish. I'm so excited. This looks so pretty. Yeah, it feels like the first one. It's like a little bit soft to the touch. Huh. I feel like I didn't get quite enough on my finger. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm having trouble making sense of this color because I feel like there's so much going on. It does look similar in the eye to how it does in the pan. It's like definitely a bright green, but I'm seeing some like redness to the sparkle, and then out of the light I'm seeing this like maybe like a golden bronze flip and like a warmer base to it, but I'm also seeing like a coolness to the base of it. My finger looks like electric green when I'm just looking at it out of the light. I searched dimensional light on the website because I didn't even see a category called that, and I think it's a new formula that started with this collection because the only three that came up in the search are exothermic, which we first swatched, Electron, which is on my eye now, and Alloy, which is an upcoming shade that we haven't swatched yet. So I feel right now like this formula is my jam. I love shades that I can't put my finger on what color they are, so it's like such a plus to me that this feels like all over the place. And I also love shadows that are more like mid-tone to light shades. I find myself just wearing them on a daily basis with just like a color in the crease and I'm ready to go. So I feel like this shade is going to be heavy in my rotation. I'm really digging this. And I didn't even realize it was the one I was looking at for next. So yeah, the next shade is Alloy, which looks pretty similar. Let me show you both. Electron, Alloy, they look pretty similar in the pan, except Electron definitely has like more of like an intense green to it, but Alloy does have green to it as well. So I'm curious. This one's slightly less soft, but still like on the softer end, still softer than that second one we swatched, that peanut butter and jelly one. It also, I'm gonna give it another layer, but it does feel a little bit less like sparkly and impactful. I'm actually pretty surprised at how similar these are. This one just feels a little bit more punchy, and I feel like there's a little bit more dimension to it. Like it goes a little bit deeper than this one does. But it is funny. Since I've gotten a new job, as I mentioned, I could imagine putting a light layer of this shade on for work. Maybe eventually I'll work my way up to here, but like for right now, I'm trying to like dip my toe in. I'm not trying to like show my whole freak at once, you know? But I will say, unless we see something totally contrasting between these two when we look at it in other lighting, I kind of feel like you only need one. And I would definitely go with this one, Electron, over this one, Alloy. I will say I think these two are most similar in direct lighting. In the indirect lighting, it feels like Electron is way shiftier. It has a lot more yellow and bright green to it, and Alloy feels like it goes a little bit more neutral, but I probably would still stick with how they seem to look in direct lighting and just go for one. Okay, we're just about halfway there. The next two are also cool toned, neutral, like interesting neutral seeming shimmers. Oh, and actually this next one is Masonry, which I know they released as like a free gift with purchase a while ago. I feel like it's been several months, and people speak of this shadow very fondly. I think there had been a question about like when will it actually be released for the people that didn't get it as the gift with purchase, so here it is, and this one is an Earth Vibrant. This one is not quite as like hard pressed as the last Earth Vibrant, but still not as soft as the other ones. It looks very green to me, but it's very gray on camera. This one might be a little bit more shimmery than the other Earth Vibrant that we tried before, Archway, but I am seeing a pattern in the dimensional lights being really sparkly and this just like being a little bit less sparkly in comparison. I'd still like go out to say that this is more sparkly than like a shadow in a palette. I always like to say that because there's a lot of crap shadows that we wouldn't have personally chosen, but when they're in a palette, you're like, okay, I'll use this every now and then. This is still better than that, but having this collection with more sparkly ones, I definitely prefer the more sparkly ones. I'm surprised to see this doesn't look quite as deep on my eye as I thought it would from the pan, right? I feel like it came up maybe a little bit sheer, and the base is like a medium gray. I really thought it was going to be like a deep gray. So that's interesting. I'm curious to see how it shifts. I like it, but I'm not obsessed with it. The next one, however, looks very sparkly in the pan. This one's a glitter vibrant. That's interesting. This is called Ascension. And actually, I'm pretty sure when I saw some influencers posting of these like 9 shadows they got during the trip, I think this is the one that I was like, I want that one. So let's see. This one's a little bit softer. It kind of looks like very small flakes on my finger. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you can see how glittery that is. Yeah, and I really only noticed it in that first one that we ice swatched and this, but I really see the like multicolored sparkles in here. I really like this. This is so pretty. The base of it is like a subtle, like light to medium mauve-y purple. The sparkle on top feels almost like a champagne with a lot of orange and green sparkle to it. Ooh, I feel like this is going to be like an everyday shadow for me. I've noticed myself, especially since getting that like Shine by SD and Glam Smitty Garden of Love palette where there's that like iridescent multicolored sparkle shadow and the other Shine by SD neutrals that I ice swatched a couple weeks ago. I've been reaching for like that type of shadow on an everyday basis, and this I think will fall right in line, but I don't have something with this like subtle purpley base. I'm really excited about this. And yeah, doesn't this one look so not sparkly in comparison? Looking at them in the other angles, Masonry, I'm definitely seeing that green shift to it, and I think that's going to be even more bold when I'm in like natural lighting. For Ascension, I'm seeing like a little hint of like a blue-green shift to it, but it doesn't look that apparent. However, I'm okay with that because I'm just here for the multicolored sparkles. Okay, so when it comes to the next one, I definitely wouldn't have purchased this if I wasn't purposely getting the whole collection. This one is Tiara. This is also a glitter vibrant, so same as the last one, Ascension. I just never reach for these richer colors. I have a couple in my collection that are so beautiful, and most I just literally never reach for, but it'll still be fun to see how this one is. Yeah, it's like an interesting choice to have in this collection because everything is like pretty mid-toned, a lot of neutrals, and then you just have this like one deep bluish purple. It does feel pretty similar to Ascension, the last one. It's like soft, but not too soft. Yeah, I think this looks pretty similar on the eye to how it does in the pan. It's pretty. Actually, the pan looks way more blue than I think it does on my eye. This looks like a royal blue. It's pretty. It's a pretty shiny iteration of what it is. I don't think it has the same like intense sparkle and intrigue as Ascension did. This feels to me more of like a pretty but regular shimmer. Looks like a purple mid to deep base with like a purple blue sparkle to the forefront. I'll be curious to see if it does anything else out of the light, but I'm not really expecting it to. I feel like this is a more straightforward shade. The next shadow is this light, bright lime green. This is called Days, and it's also a glitter vibrant multichrome. And it's funny because when I started seeing swatches of this collection, I was like, oh, these two are like the bright, colorful ones in this interesting neutral collection. But knowing what I know now about those 2 shadows that we swatched like 2 shadows ago, Days fits way more into this collection than this one does. It just looks to be like a slightly less neutral version of this like little green thing that they have going on in here. This one feels a little bit more flaky. Like I really see how it moved around in the pan, but it feels good. And that looks bright. It actually looks pretty yellow Huh, I was really thinking green for this, but it looks like a canary yellow over here that has some green to it. I think I might have gotten like most of the pigment a little higher up, so let me move that around a little bit. Interesting. I wonder if this is like a lighter version of Duke, like a lighter, more yellowy version, because I'm also seeing orange in it. Oh, actually, I think we have a multicolor sparkle shadow on our hands because I'm seeing a lot of orange sparkle to it. And I think I'm also seeing a green sparkle that doesn't totally match the base. It made it a little bit more subtle than it was in the other ones, but I feel like there's a little bit of like a Kelly green sparkle in there. Cool. Yeah, this one's definitely high on my list of ones that I'm excited about. It feels special, it feels yellow, and it's multicolored sparkle. I'm digging that. Yeah, I'm not really excited about the dark purple one out of the light. I didn't think I would be, but it almost looks just more dark, more dingy. The base looks a little bit uneven. I don't love it, but that's mostly personal preference. But Days, love that one. It's kind of giving me a little bit of copper also. I'm seeing almost blue in it as well. I think that shade is so sparkly and so special. It's final shade time, and this one is an iridescent. It's called Incandescence, and it's a Series 3 Iridescent Multichrome. I don't know if this is the first of the Series 3s or if they've had like a couple before, but I know that Series 3 is like a newer version, so I'm curious to see because I've had various luck with iridescence from Clionadh. It also just comes down to what I like with iridescence and what I don't, because in general, if they're flaky, I just really have no use for them. I don't tend to wear them all over my lid, and sometimes if it's really like special to me, I'll wear it as a topper, but most of the time if it's a flaky iridescent, I won't use it. I prefer a more smooth iridescent because then I can pick it up with a little pencil brush and use it on my inner corner, which I do every day. This one, judging from the look in the pan, I feel like it is going to be that smoother formula, but then I'm curious how it's going to differentiate itself from other like reddish looking iridescents they have. But let's see, let's just dive in and check it out. This is a harder pressed formula. Okay. And again, all over my lid isn't the best judge for this because that's not how I wear iridescence. But I do like when I feel like I would have the option. And my first impression of this is that I might wear this to work like tomorrow. Definitely not super sparkly, but as I said, not what I'm looking for. I feel like this formula will lend itself really well to my inner corner. And I also feel like it's going to be a little bit different from other multichromes I have because I'm seeing like a yellow in this also. Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how this is going to compare. I think the one that I use a lot from the Clionadh Iridescent line, I think it's like, I want to say either Ray or Halo, but I think this one's more orangey than it, but it's still like an orangey red. I like this. I do like this. I don't think it's quite as exciting as some of the other shadows in this collection. And I think the funny thing about these 9 shadows is like, I just don't get it. I mean, I guess maybe we'll talk about this later, but I don't know if there's like a reason for these 9 shadows to be released together other than the fact that like they just had them ready to go, you know? Before I ramble on too long though, let's see how this looks out of the light. Yeah, this looks quite shifty. I'm seeing a lot of yellowy orange, and I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of green escaping me as well. Cool, I like that. And because this is our last shadow, I'm just going to build a look around this. So I'm going to do that, and we'll be right back for some more thoughts and comparisons. Here is the finished look. I kept this so simple. It's literally just the same color over my lid. I extended that into my inner corner, and then for my crease and my lower lash line, I used some mattes from my Kylie Mattes palette. And then I also traced my brush that had just a little bit more of incandescence on it over the lower lash line to give like a little bit of a glow to it. So it's simple, but it's also like a very realistic look for something that I would choose to do. Also, I had said before that I was able to see like a little hint of green when I looked at this in the other lighting, but when I was turned around actually doing my makeup, it was so vibrantly red and green. So that makes me feel like when I'm wearing this out and about in person, you're going to see the multi-chromaticness of it better than you can see in the direct light. I'm super excited about this launch. I'm happy that I own a lot of these. And I was thinking how, like, I love Clionadh, but I feel like they didn't release that much last year. And what they did was mainly like darker shadows. And because I've been really kind of like fixating on my like mid-toned interesting neutrals, I was kind of like missing my fix from the brand. I hope they'll kind of continue this format of just having like a small release of random shadows. I also wouldn't mind if it was a little bit more themed. I do like me a good theme, but I mostly like me new launches from Clionadh that are awesome. When it comes to a ranking for this collection, I feel like I have 5 that I really like, and I have 4 that I would probably skip over knowing what I know now. The one that I feel like is my favorite right now is Electron. This is the one that was kind of like a grayish shimmer over like a neon green base. A really interesting, fun neutral that I feel like I haven't seen before, and it really kind of blurs the line on what's an interesting neutral and what is like straight up a color, because one could say both things about this shade. On top of that, I feel like it has so many different neutral colors within it. Like even the way that it doesn't look like a flat color just over the bumps of my hand. I really like that. My second favorite at the moment is Exothermic. This is the first one that I ice watched, and it just feels like it's going to fit in so perfectly with what I wear every day. I mean, really all of these favorites will, but this one especially because it feels kind of the most neutral but also very special at the same time. Like it doesn't have a bright color to it the way that Electron does, but it is like such a beautiful, nuanced neutral with all of that little sparkles in it, and I just love that. Number 3 that I'm excited to wear is Ascension. This is the one that was like a neutral, multicolored sparkle over like a mauve-y purple base, but it doesn't go too dark. I feel like this is going to also be so easy to wear. Like I feel like these two are going to be easy everyday shades, and this one's going to be like a little bit more of like a fun everyday shade. But I mean, they're all fun. My 4th favorite is this bright yellowy green Daze. This is surprising to me because I thought it was just going to feel more of like a bright lime green in the middle of an interesting neutral collection, but it's such like an interesting bright lime, kind of like yellow. I'd say it even looks less yellow on my hand right now than it did on the eye swatch, but I like that about it. And I feel like especially for summer, I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this, but I'm also not someone who adheres so much to like summer and not summer colors, so I know I will wear that year round. And then my 5th favorite, the final of the 5 that I would repurchase knowing what I know now, is Incandescence, which I have all over my eyes. This one I do kind of feel like I haven't filmed the comparison portion of this yet, so I am curious to see how it's going to feel next to other iridescents I already have. But my first impression is it does feel a little bit special for my iridescents. But it's also possible I wouldn't like, I don't know. If I had to replace all my Clionadh shadows, would this be in the first order? I can't exactly tell you that yet, but I can tell you I'm excited to have it and wear it, and it does feel special from the other shadows I already have. It has that like soft, glowy, iridescent formula that I really like, but it also still has enough presence to really feel like something on my eyes. And now we're entering the 4 that I wouldn't repurchase. I will say though that time will tell. Maybe I'll see one of these in like a different light, literally or figuratively, sometime soon, and I'll totally change my tune. That does happen. These aren't bad shades. I'm just not that excited about them right now. So I'm gonna put in 6th place Masonry. I feel like there's a reason that people like it. I'm also excited that it's not as deep as I thought it would be. I feel like this might be the first one of these that I wear to work because it kind of feels like an easy but interesting neutral to wear. Also, there's, other collections I've swatched, cough cough, Luxie, where like the bottom of the list are ones that like don't have sparkle, aren't good shadows. These all feel like good shadows. There just is a spectrum from really sparkly shadows to less sparkly shadows, and this and the next two are ones that are just like not quite as sparkly as these top four. Next we have Alloy. This is a pretty shade, but it feels like a more neutral version of Electron. I feel like if you want a training wheel shadow, like if you want an interesting neutral that isn't so sparkly, Alloy might be for you, but if you're someone that's here for like the impact and the sparkle, I would definitely stick with Electron. And then we have Archway, our peanut butter jelly shade of the bunch. I know I said this at the time of ice watching it, but I will reiterate now that I've had my finger in all of the shadows. It's definitely much more hard pressed than any other shade that we have here. And then lastly, we have Tiara. A pretty shade, a well done shade, but not the most interesting and not something that really fits into how I do my makeup. But if you like it just for the color, if you've been looking for this color, I feel like it's a fine shadow. Here are the 9 new shades swatched out. The 5 I would repurchase, and the 4 I would probably leave at the store. Let's head into some comparisons. Clionadh Tiara, Clionadh Etched, Luxie Twilight. Tiara looks pretty similar in formula to Etched, but Etched is definitely the more blue version, and Tiara is more purple in comparison. I'd say Luxie Twilight is a little bit less sparkly and a little bit more dingy colored, a little bit more gray to it. Clionadh Daze, Pretty Sphere Face Legend, Clionadh Embellishment, Clionadh Ochre. I'd say color-wise, the first two have a lot in common, but you can see in comparison, Legend does not look sparkly at all. The Clionadh one definitely has way more impact to it. Embellishment and Ochre are both more on the coppery side, especially looking at it from the angle that my eyeballs are at. Embellishment looks like a straight up orange, and on camera you can see Ochre leaning more warm as well. Clionadh Incandescence, Terramoon's Phoenix, Clionadh Halo, Terramoon's Red Giant. I'd say formula-wise, this one looks like it has more in common with Phoenix. I think you could see that this other Clionadh one is a bit more subtle, as well as this last Terramoon's one, but color-wise, comparing it to Phoenix, Phoenix is definitely more orange, and Incandescence is more of like a pinky red. Clionadh Ascension, Clionadh Opulent. This is the older version. I know they've recently reformulated it. Clionadh Bloodline, Shine by SD Tease, Terramoon's Haze of the Moon. Bloodline in its base, which isn't really coming up on camera, looks the most similar. This definitely has the purpleness to it, but on camera it looks like a reddish pink, and it doesn't seem to have a lot in common with it. Opulent also looks a little bit warm, and then these last two look a little bit cool. So although all of these have something in common vibe-wise, they're all quite different. And also I'll say this formula of the new Clionadh one is way more flaky, way more textured than the other Clionadh ones. I'd say formula-wise it has the most in common with this Shine by SD one, Tease, which is also one of their newer shadows. Here's Clionadh Exothermic next to Shine by SD Scintillating and Divina Tucana. The formula looks very similar to this Shine by SD one, which is part of their newer collection, but color-wise, this one is a bit warmer and the Shine by SD is more cool. And I was trying something out with this Divina one, but this one looks straight up pink. To my eye, it looks very coppery, and the formula looks very different. Clionadh Masonry, Touch of Glam, The Koosh Era, Luxie Deadpan. Deadpan looks like a straight up satin, which I've noticed it does whenever it's next to a more shimmery shadow, but it also looks a lot warmer. The Couche era is also not a good comparison for this. This looks warm in the base and then green in the flip. Masonry looks very cool in the swatch. Clionadh Archway, Terra Moon's Veil Nebula, Clionadh Orchard, Pretty Sphere Face Pure Imagination, Luxie Sus. Most of these have something in common color-wise. I'd say Orchard, the base is very different, but the color in the forefront is still similar. This Luxie one that I thought of looks a lot more warm. Pure Imagination goes a lot more green in the shift, or at least more bright green. Archway from Clionadh is a little bit more of like an antique green, if anything. I think Veil Nebula probably looks the most similar, but looking at it from a different angle, Veil Nebula is more purpley blue, and I'm not seeing any purpley blue in this angle of Archway. A little bit in this angle, though. Clionadh Electron, Terra Moon's Oppie, Touch of Glam, The Gobbling Goblin, Shine by SD Glow, Shine by SD Flash, Divina Airglow, and Clionadh Alloy, another new one from this bunch. I just wanted to grab a bunch that I thought might have something in common with either Electron or Alloy, and I wasn't really sure how to break it up, so here they all are together, and none of them are exact matches to either of the two new ones, especially when you factor in the greeniness in Electron that's really concealing itself in this light. I love the look of these, and I will say I endorse the formulas of all of these shadows, but they're all just a little bit different. And Alloy, I'm not sure if I was saying this during the eye swatch, but I do see multicolored sparkles in it when it's swatched out. Overall, I'm really excited about this launch. I'm really excited to have added all of these new interesting neutrals from Clionadh into my collection. If you picked up anything from this launch, let me know what you got, what you think, or if you're planning on getting any of these in the future. If you enjoyed this, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. I also have a Patreon I'll have linked down below, and a fashion channel I'll have linked down below. Either way, thank you so much for being here. Bye.